Really important, so I'm going to start off with our pledge of allegiance today and four-way test led by Tina Marie. So bring it on. All right. Please rank. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and the four-way test of the things you think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Yes. All right, I thought, and Mary Millard will come up with our installation. This is a little bit of a play on the weather, the inspiration.
Kelly,
And this comes from
Kelly.
Stephen Covey, 7 Habits, and this is one of the habits he mentions and is on. Carrying your own weather. This means choosing to maintain a positive attitude and take responsibility for your own emotional state, regardless of external factors like the heat. It's about making conscious choices about your responses and not letting circumstances control you. Carrying your own weather. And my weather is a little giddy today, and that's because I have the opportunity to go to the water treatment plant groundbreaking ceremony this morning. It's really gonna happen. So after 9 long years on council, fighting tooth and nail all the way through, to be able to go to the groundbreaking today and see that they've got the shovels, they've got everything ready to go, and they have a June 2028 final date. So it was a wonderful opportunity. So I'm feeling kind of giddy because that is something that excites me. So with that, I am going to say that we do have a visiting Rotarian from Medford who will be our speaker today. So Bob Weiss is here to speak with us today. We also have a guest. I think, John, did you bring a guest? Would you like to introduce your guest? I will come on over to the microphone.
I'm a good little Italian boy. This is a good little Spanish boy. Stand up. This is Jose Pineda in our office, quality guy, and I thought maybe he could help this club. Maybe the club could help.
I think it goes both ways, and that's from voice experience. So, all right, great. I'm going to insert an announcement that I have. First of all, let me go back to Pat, and she's the lady with the cards. So can you tell us? Okay, so there's still cards for sale. So if you have some cash in the pocket and you want to give it to a good cause, Pat will walk around. And if you want to give the microphone back, Pat, bring it back up here so you don't have to. Pat. Okay, great. So I have a brief announcement, and this is exciting. I see lots of food in the back, and I'm very excited to see that. Last week, I brought in 113 pounds, and I will add it to the pounds before that I don't have the total, but I'm going to keep a running total of how much we are contributing to the food bank for children's food. So bring it in, just bring it in brown paper bags to see myself, Jan Jones, who goes out there every week. We've got a system so we can get it out there, get it weighed, and help our community and feed our kids. So that's important. I also just wanted to bring up that we had the global grants. Last Saturday, I went to the meeting, and who was there. Tommy was not there, but she was a big part of it anyway. There were 3 global grants, one for Uganda, global grant for cervical cancer, a second one, lithium spins for more water cleaning in Mexico, and the one that we're excited, and we actually donated to help in the future, is they have a K-8 school down in Guatemala. I can never say the city, but it's one of those down in Guatemala. How do you say it? Sheba. So they have a school down there that's K-8, and they are just building a secondary school in the community, and we helped donate $500 to help get their grant over the finish line, so they can buy supplies and for the school. So that was really exciting. It was really exciting to see how that whole system works. How when we give our money to the Rotary, that kind of sits in a pot and eventually it comes back and it gets used for big projects like that. So it was really fun to see the sort of things different clubs have put together. And Jim's promised us that he'll give us an update on our water grant that in Cozumel soon. So that was great to see. And Tommy also donated some money. So thank you, Tommy, for being that great humanitarian as well. One thing before we do the program today, I'm trying to catch in with a little bit of business, and I wanted to introduce our board going forward, because of course this is the new Rotary year. First, I'm the president. President-elect is Jenny Jackson, who I don't see here today. And then we have a president-elect nominee who we've also invited to our board meetings, and that is Greg Millard, because he will be president after Jenny. Thank you. Our secretary is Claudia Sullivan. Our treasurer is Trina Marie Costo, a little help we hope. Executive secretary Tommy Drake. Our membership chair, Beth Walker. Our international foundation representative and the director of the Rotary Foundation chair is Jim Peter. Our sub-directors are Josh Baylock, which I'm hoping we'll see the whites of his eyes soon, and harassing you. Zara, here, who's not here. Kelly Moody, Liz Kramer, Janice Jones is the Rotary Foundation, and then of course Judy Basker, our past president, and our honorary member, Steve Rowe. So I'm going to ask today, Jim, this is a question on Jim. How long do you stay in after you're past president?
Whatever you want, pass it back.
Oh, is that right? Okay, well, but I didn't know if there was a rotation, so I will certainly add you to the list. I did put together my first board meeting for next Wednesday, and I was so excited because the advantage of having Josh on board with All Care is that it gives us the technical opportunity to have people remotely join the board meeting. But that doesn't always work. So we have a backup, which we had last year at the catwalk, which was really nice, our last board meeting, but at that meeting, we don't have any chat. So Josh promised me that he would work on getting us at All Care. Hasn't been the new, and then he called me and said, well, it can't be there next Wednesday unless you want to go upstairs and we have to walk through another meeting and get to the meeting. I said, no. So I made the tap off, and then I put up the notice to everybody except for Jim, I'm sorry. And like 5 people immediately got back and said, oh, I'm out of town. So then I thought, well, I really think that maybe today, there's really only one thing I really want to get taken care of immediately, and that is the porch chestnut. So we have 5 recipients that are waiting on their money. We've got the final numbers from Jan. We know the amount that we would like to get out. And so today, after the meeting, I have a short board meeting just to prove that so that Jan can start the process of getting it going. And we will make arrangements in August, hopefully, for them to come and give a little presentation about this. So that's the plan. I'm a planner, so I'm working on it. So today, if those people who are on the board, they just meet me up here at this table. Bingo, we'll make a really fast board meeting, and then we'll just cancel this month's board meeting and plan in August. So that's my announcements. Anybody else have any announcements for us today? Wow, that's amazing. I think it's the end of the summer and everybody's just kind of like, really burnt. So just remember the food. That's all I can tell you. Please bring in food. That's a big priority right now. And without further ado, then I will have Steve Rowe come up and introduce our guest.
Thanks, Valerie. Our speaker today is actually no stranger to our club. We've been here before, but Bob Wise from KLBI. And he's here to share today about a fairly new initiative that KLBI has. It's an important subject for myself personally, as well as I know many members of this club. It's called Tomorrow Needs You. So Bob, please welcome Bob up here to talk about Tomorrow Needs You.
For 1 second.
I don't know if I want to be seen next to this guy.
Thank you.
Snap on there.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, so happy to be here. We're so fortunate to have Jamie Duell at NBC5, and I'm told she's a pretty good representative. So bear with me, but I'm a TV guy, so we always have to show video from the TV people. But it puts a good framework about what we want to talk about today. So tomorrow needs you, there's a video, the first video will show you kind of what inspired it, how it was built, and why it matters so deeply, not only to me, but to our entire organization. So here it goes.
I'm US Senator Ron Wyden. It's okay to ask friends or family members if despair has them thinking of taking their own life. Know how to ask them. Know the signs of suicide. Remember, we're all in this together.
Every year, over 800 Oregonians die by suicide. If you're watching this video, I'm certain that at one point suicide has impacted you in some way. So in 2019, NBC5 and several community partners introduced a suicide prevention initiative called In This Together. Its goal to raise awareness of our suicide and mental health crisis and offer hope and help to those in need. After hearing thousands of PSAs and receiving millions of responses through social media, it was clear that our messages of awareness and education and hope broke through. We worked hard to break the stigma associated with these difficult conversations. And This Together was a 5-year initiative that ended in 2024, where many of our local health organizations asked if we could resume this highly successful program. So this January 2025, we are launching a new suicide prevention initiative. It's called Tomorrow Needs You. Suicide and mental health issues impact all of us, regardless of income or age. There are 2 of the spots we plan to run to launch this new campaign.
Sometimes the ones who need help the most don't ask for it. But you can be the one to notice. You can be the one to listen. You could be the one to ask, do you need some help? Because one conversation could be the answer someone desperately needs. Be the one to care. As you age, you often spend more time alone and isolated. And loneliness leads to depression. And depression can lead to suicide. It's time to talk about that. It's okay. Taking the first step may feel hard, but it's a step towards a better, brighter tomorrow. Tomorrow needs you. You're not alone in this.
We are again dedicating enormous resources to this new initiative, including new public service announcements, news stories, and interactive social media campaigns. We are going to tackle this unlike any other TV station in the country, and with your help, we will break the stigma. Thank you.
Yeah, so in 2019, we launched In This Together. We were the first TV station in the country to address mental health and suicide every day of the week. We were very proud of that. In 2019, in September of 19, I showed In This Together, that program, to 300 broadcasters in Austin, Texas, at a conference, and I was incredibly proud to win Best of Show for what the station is doing for the community. So I thought my phone, when I got back to the station, would ring off the wall of other broadcasters wanting to take part in what we were doing, learn how to do it, learn how to put those groups together. Not one call, which amazed me, but it's hard. People don't want to, news stations didn't traditionally talk about suicide, right? Or mental. Then COVID hit. And then about 9 months later, my phone started ringing off the wall. So when I let this sunset in June, which at the time might have been the stupidest decision I've made as a broadcaster, but what that led to was all these healthcare officials contacting me and asking me, what are you doing? So I thought if we rebrand this and relaunch this and be far more impactful at telling stories of individuals in our communities that can make a difference, we'd be on to something. And that's how Tomorrow Needs You was born. And this guy, right there, was such an instrumental part of it. We have incredible partners on it. It's All Care Health, Christie and Steve Rowe, more Christie, I'm sure, but. Options of Southern Oregon, Kairos Northwest, Oregon Community Foundation, and Jackson County Health Department. Their commitment is just beyond belief. Because trust me, I know I'm not an expert in that space. But I do know a lot of experts and they guide us on the message. We can't screw this up, it's too important. So that leads to the word stigma, trying to break that stigma and having those conversations that can be incredibly difficult from time to time. Steve and I had lunch, Steve, 12, 13 years ago. And I had known Steve for over 2 decades. When I moved here in 2004, he's one of the first people I met. And I was so impressed. Golly, what a strong businessman. He has great questions, had a relationship with the station. But then 12 years ago, we're sitting at lunch, just he and I asked him about his childhood. And that changed our relationship forever. He told me about his journey. He told me what difficulties he had as a child. And he told me about the impact that's had on him as an adult. So as we were looking at launching Tomorrow Needs You, he was willing to step up and share his story because he thought it might help others. You're going to give him a round of applause here in a minute, but please give him one another. I will share with you an edited version of that story. Which, by the way, if you would like to watch both parts and have not seen them, please go to our website, kobi5.com, and click on the Tomorrow Needs You tab, and you can see the story. See here.
I'm Craig Sloan. Wednesday on NBC5 News at 6. NBC5 and the United Way of Jackson County launch the Suicide Prevention and Mental Health Awareness Project Tomorrow Needs You. We begin with a deeply personal conversation with Steve Rowe, the general manager of Rowe Motors. Steve shares a story of heartbreak and hope that you would never suspect was about him. Please join Steve and I Wednesday on NBC5 News at 6 for the launch of Tomorrow Needs You.
Only on NBC5 News tonight, we're launching a new community initiative this week entitled Tomorrow Needs You. Suicide and mental health issues impact all of us, regardless of income or age. To help kick off this new program, NBC's Craig Smullen introduces us to a local business leader who has overcome mental health issues himself and wants to make sure people know that help is out there for everyone.
If I have a heart condition, I go to a cardiologist, I'm okay to talk about that. With cancer, and I go to an oncologist. But if I say I went and saw a mental health professional, and I will say, I think this is changing the country. I think it is more okay to talk about mental health.
Rowe Motors General Manager Steve Rowe readily admits he didn't always feel this way. About 20 years ago, a mental health worker at a leadership conference for car dealers told Rowe he might have PTSD, should consider getting some professional help, where his past car dealer didn't tell anyone.
Didn't even tell him away. Because I was so embarrassed. Because all mental health was something that happened to somebody else, but it didn't happen. It's not supposed to happen to me.
Rowe was bullied both physically and emotionally, and given the nickname Lurch, the imposing butler in the popular Addams Family TV show.
Lurch was tall, ugly, and stupid, and I ain't tall. And I saw myself as ugly, and I definitely saw myself as stupid.
While starting his healing journey wasn't easy, Rowe says opening up to others has helped him tremendously. He encourages anyone going through a tough time to just talk to someone, anyone.
If you're struggling, don't keep it bottled up, because it's like a time bomb and it's waiting to go off. And it's going to explode. But if we can have the outlet of another person, whoever that person is, or whatever the situation is that makes you well and healthy, that's okay too.
Well, Steve Rowe to say a few words. I'm on the police.
Thank you, Bob. I want to spend a minute talking about 2 subjects. The first one is, and it's going to be the briefest part of my story, is the stigma. And for me, I never told my parents, anyone of my family, about my bullying. I would go to the library and I grew up in Sioux City, Michigan. I would go to the library and I could learn looking at ways to commit suicide. And I come from, I think, a good family, but I never felt comfortable in sharing anything with anybody. And, I could never find a way that I wouldn't hurt people along the way, that I love very much. I think that's the only reason I'm talking here today. And then when it came time to, when I was suggested I receive mental health treatment when I was 48 years old, about 20 years ago, I should remember calling Roy Vineyard, the CEO of Asante. And that was a tough call to make, to say, it's been suggested I receive mental health treatment. And he was very caring about the whole subject. And then the next part was I had to go to 2 North. And 2 North is a place at Rogue Regional Medical Center. And it has a stigma attached to that. Matter of fact, now it's called the behavioral health unit, because if somebody said you went to 2 North, that was a sign that something was wrong. And so I visited 2 North, and I can remember walking up the stairs, but I didn't take the elevator, I took the back stairs. Because I didn't want to face anybody, but I was going there to see. And so I remember greeting the receptionist, and I said, my name's Steve Rowe, I have an appointment with Dr. Phillips. And she says, what's your appointment about? And well, it's on the board because I was the board of, still am on the board of Asante. And I want to say I was their clinician. And Dr. Phillips was a person that was, and he still is, about 98 years old. And just was wonderful human being to help me make that. But I'd like to think that mental health discussions are much more open today, that I would have to take the back stairs of that. So now I want to talk about the coming back part of things. And right now, I go to the behavioral health unit with hope, not as a patient, but as a caregiver. And I started out a few years ago, even before COVID, that I would visit with other therapy dogs such as Bonnie and Molly. And I would visit these places, behavioral health unit, and patients. And lately, it's always been in the group room. And a group room is, there's 24 beds, 24 patients at the behavioral unit. It's usually always full because the behavioral health unit is the only place leaving between Eugene and Sacramento, inpatient facility. And but anyway, these patients, and we sit in a group setting, and I will say, Hope is kind of a pass around dog. And she goes from patient to patient on her laps and everything. But lately, we've also doing something that I consider even more special. And that's visiting patients that are in bed. And, there's one patient was catatonic and couldn't move her hand, but actually, we got her to pat hold. And you could see just a slight visual change in that. In another case, sometimes getting the patient out of bed is a major struggle. And so Hope goes in there, and we've had really quite good success of getting the patient to at least get out of bed to pet Hope along the way. And so I can appreciate so much the bravery of these individuals. And I see patients come in a straitjacket with law enforcement, but when they leave, they get real help so that they can visit Compass House in Medford. And there's people from Grants Pass, and on TV commercials, people will see me and they'll know Hope's story or my story a little bit, but I think it does help. The next thing that happened is I swore this was never going to happen. I have never attended a class reunion. I graduated in 1975. So what does that mean? 50 years. Easy math, right? 2025. And I swore I'd never go back. Well, but I'm going back. And the reason is they reached out to me. And we set up a fund, a donor advice fund for youth mental health fund, Christy and I did, for help with youth mental health in St. Marie. And this fund is really growing, and they haven't spent anything on it. So we're actually on that August 5th, I think we're gonna meet with the Chippewa County Foundation to figure out what is our program going forward at the youth mental health. And the classmates that are kind of the organizing committee, we're gonna talk about that. They're gonna put additional money if they want in this fund, donations. And they've also asked me to share a little bit of my story about life going back. And so for me, I don't want to focus on what happened in 1975. I want to focus on what happens in 2025, 2026 and beyond. That's for me, that's where the hope comes in. There's no sense crying over spilt milk for what happened 50 years ago. I'm sure that they don't even know, they don't remember me, they don't remember any of that part of that story. But for me, that's the part of giving back. And just the last thing I also want to say is, I want to thank each one of you. You did so much to me. I want to share that. Thank you.
All right, well, I stop that. You know, to have people in your life that mean something good. That impact that they have, it matters. You draw from. Somebody drew from his story and decided to share their story on our station as well. She saw Steve's courage and she wanted to share something that happened over 30 years ago that her closest friends did not know happened. Because she knew with Steve's story, that would make a difference, and she felt her story might make a difference. So much so that just yesterday, I was on the phone with OHSU on a couple other projects, and I asked if they have seen our program down there. I partnered with OHSU in my 20+ years here on many things. So I sent them the link, and they contacted me back, and they want to talk to the person who loves me after she shared her story, because it's just exceptional. And I also have to commend Craig. He has the right empathy, professionalism to do these stories, to share them in a way that looks like it's on network, not a TV station. Okay? So here is Nancy Greenwald Johnson's story, again, edited version, and you can go to our website and see how that conversation.
I'm Craig Sloan. Tonight on NBC5 News at 6, we're honored to share a deeply personal story through our Tomorrow Needs You project with the United Way of Jackson County. It's about a mother who faced the unimaginable, the loss of her daughter to suicide. Now she's reaching out with a message of hope, healing, the power to keep going. Join us for the story of resilience tonight on NBC5 News at 6, because tomorrow needs you.
Nancy Greenwald Johnson has lived in the Rogue Valley for decades. Now a retired financial advisor, she's a pillar of the community, but many years ago, she was a pregnant teenager at Medford High School, married at just 16. It wasn't long after that the abuse started.
When I was 8 months pregnant with my daughter, that was the first meeting. And I don't even remember what brought it on or if I ever knew.
Some 6 decades later, Nancy describes her daughter Nikki as being born into domestic violence.
It was bad for me, it was bad for my daughter, but one of the things about an abuser, and many people will tell you that they are so contrite. I'll never do that again. I'm so sorry. Let's try to make it work. And they talk you into it.
Sharing her story publicly isn't easy. She was inspired by someone she sits on the Asante Foundation board with.
When I heard Steve Rowe's story and the tagline, "Tomorrow needs you," that is reaching people.
This spring, the Row Motors GM shared with us how he's overcome mental health issues after being bullied both physically and emotionally as a child.
I said, if he could do it, we can save a life. Bringing it to the surface.
But despite seeing abuse as a child and knowing some of the warning signs, Nancy says Nikki soon fell in love with a man who would go on to abuse her. After a couple of years, Nikki got divorced. When she was ready to start dating again, it happened again.
She never got over that. She married an abuser. Didn't see it, didn't present until they were married. It's not unusual for women who do not seek counseling to pick the same type of person.
In 1993, after one rough night with her boyfriend, Nikki died by suicide.
I believe my daughter carried that violence inside. That was the darkness. On the outside, she was the light. Everybody would say she lit up her light.
Sharing her daughter's story doesn't come easy to Nancy. Nancy still vividly remembers something that happened at a local grocery store shortly after Nikki's suicide.
I was about halfway down the aisle and I knew the person coming towards me. And they locked eyes with me, turned their basket and left. Never said a word. It was difficult. That there was a shame on suicide rather than wanting to help. You just want to be away from it. And things have come a long ways.
We all have people that love us or care about us, be it friends, family, a professional, neighbors, or coworkers. So talk to someone, anyone, about what you're going through.
Yeah, I was asked at a recent presentation, why are you showing the promo before you show us what you tell us you're gonna show us? I think it's really important that you see the effort and framework we try to put on these stories. And the compassion that's being used in trying to share that information as best we can. You know, it's one of the greatest privileges I've had of working in broadcasting for 43 years. Yeah, I look too young, thank you for saying so. Is the difference we can make in the communities we serve. Jamie experiences that, I'm fortunate enough to experience that. Our coverage area is massive, you know, we go north of Roseburg, over the coast, east of Klamath, and then Northern California. So many people saw these stories, right? And maybe somebody else will reach out to help somebody else. You know, we're truly committed to continuing this work, to educate, to inform, and bring people together around one simple truth. This health crisis can be stopped, and it's stopped by talking about it. Thank you for allowing us to share information about Tomorrow Needs You. And I know, as you are Rotarians, and you'll do everything today to make our community stronger and more. So thank you for having me. What's this?
That will be the runner.
Sure.
If you have any questions that you like, it's such a, I mean, it's just such a heartfelt, it's almost like you're just there, it's hard to pick yourself up and ask questions. So I was just start to say like, thank you, and thank you to Steve, because watching him get emotional, I'm sure many of you also can look back on your own lives and your own things that you have covered up and shoved down through the years. And realize how important, and every time I see my TV, and I do like most of the night because I watch TV. I think about how powerful it is to have powerful people in our community acknowledge mental health issues. I have mental health issues. I can go back, I can read some of these stories. It's almost makes me quiver thinking about it, because it's just like, I shut down. I shut down. But you're right, it's like a time bomb. And you just know that people need to know that even those people that appear strong have those moments. And I was just talking with Tommy Drake a little bit ago about how, you know, I'm a person who just gets this energy, then I'll go. And so, you know, ever ready battery, that's what my kids call me. But I'm learning that I need to be recharged. And my daughter is telling me that, and she has learned. And that's why I agree. I think we're coming to a place where we understand that batteries need to be recharged. And we all have ups and we all have downs. And we need to work through those, but we need to listen and talk. Because I remember when I was a kid, I had best friends all the time. We talked about everything. And kids don't have that anymore. I mean, some kids do, but a lot don't.
Yeah, I share the story a lot, you know, growing up in the 1960s in Houston, Texas. I was the youngest of four, and we did not talk about problems. And, I mean, I think my parents' mantra was, if you don't talk about it, it'll go away. So I grew up with kind of that mentality. It took my wife, who Steve and Christy know, Sally, to teach me how to have that conversation. And that was hard, but it made me a better husband, made me a better father, made me a better boss. And you know, so I just can't urge that enough. I mean, you heard what Steve said, he tells parents what it's feeling. We hope those kids will tell their parents what they feel, or those parents will ask that kid. That's what you got. Yes, ma'am. Does this work? Yeah, you can turn that one on too, yep.
So when you say, that you just need to ask a question, how do you ask that question? Like,
That's correct. I really appreciate you saying that. Ask it any way you feel comfortable, but ask it, because it'll lead to more conversation probably. Or hopefully you'll hear, oh my God, thank you so much for asking, no, I'm fine. I have asked staff members of mine that I've seen in the depression state or something going on in their life, have you thought of hurting yourself? I never thought I'd ask a staff that question. It is amazing what that opens up. Because then they feel like, oh my God, I can trust this person, they care. And I hope that that's how it'll play out for you, but the key is you gotta overcome that hump and you have to ask.
Excellent question, because I think we all want to know how.
Okay, couple of aspects. One, as a retired teacher, I'm gonna talk about middle school students. Because that's where, over the years, I think it's always, it used to be junior high, that's what it was when I went. These kids are brutal with each other. And that has not changed. I don't care how many programs we put in place, it has not changed. And there are those students, I think particularly at the middle school level, that can't handle it, but they internalize. And I don't know what we do as a community and as a professional community to handle this, but it definitely needs to be handled. And now I want to fast forward to this morning. Tommy and I, and there are others of you here that we go and feed homeless people at Newman United Methodist Church in the parking lot. There are, and what I did today, I was not directly feeding the people, I was handing out plates and talking to them. The mental health issues are in huge abundance for a variety of reasons. So I guess I'm saying this because we have so many cracks in the surface of how we're dealing with these things, that thank you for doing this, but I'd like to see it permeate into many more areas. And how do we do that?
Yeah, well, I wish I had all the answers, but certainly, talking about it is a start. And realizing that we do have a problem, right? It's interesting you bring up middle school, because that was kind of the inception of how I started the first program. Deanne Everson, I call her my little sister, but she's the executive director of United Way of Jackson County. And she and I have done many projects together. And when she told me about how many teens were taking their own life in Southern Oregon, when you're doing nothing is accomplishing absolutely nothing. So let's do something. It just so happened that a friend of mine, someone Steve knows, a gentleman named Dwight Holt. You may remember the name. He was U.S. Attorney for Oregon at one time. He ran against Ellen Rosenblum for Attorney General and lost, which turned out to be a benefit to me, even though I wanted to win. He became the head of Lines for Life, which is a statewide suicide prevention hotline for teens and adults. And he is who I first contacted and said, I'm going to do something. So help me navigate this. And part of that was getting that message into school. So I met with a lot of healthcare officials about what was being done. And there are counselors that do go into school. Maybe Christy could speak to this. I don't know if second grade would get that on the course or not, but boy, the earlier we can start, it seems to me the better of talking about mental health, and hopefully they'll talk about it. These freaking phones are awful for kids. They're awful. And these kids take everything seriously. I know I did as a kid, nothing's changed, right? I don't know what the right answer is, but bullying on the internet is the saddest thing you can imagine. And the impact it has on our youth is just unbelievable. So you're 100% right. All I can do is try to spread the message as best we can.
Yes, I would agree with that. And also say, thank you, there is PATH meetings next Tuesday they're having it at the PAC Center, and I think it's just really fun. And they're talking about seniors. Anyway, the mental health will be brought up, I'm sure.
I just want to follow up on what
Kelly was saying, my career, I'm a licensed family therapist who's worked with teens and youth most of the time. It was my main focus, a lot of others too, but. And, many years ago, I was working in a junior high, middle school. And I was the I wasn't a school counselor, I was the risk counselor. And I was working with a group of girls, and they were all the cheerleaders, the little princesses, mostly very well off, and everybody looked at them and thought they had no problems whatsoever. And until one of them brought me a note that another one had written that she was gonna kill herself. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you think of suicide, you always think of it as maybe someone who's down and out, homeless, somebody who doesn't have everything they need, who's something. But the kids that have a lot of pressure on them are very much at risk. The ones who have some, they look really good on the outside, but so many are really broken on the inside, so I just wanted to throw that out there. I agree, just like I said, some of those people need to understand from us older people who kind of come across as really strong that, hey, we've been down that road. It was okay.
Well, I know that most suicidal people don't tell you they're getting ready to suicide. Are there any signals that we can pick up that someone is considering that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of things. I mean, you can see sometimes withdrawal of individuals. So, or maybe even making certain plans that seem odd to someone. The more you know somebody, the more you're gonna know the some. If you don't know that person well, talk to somebody who does, say you're seeing a difference. The key is to do something, do whatever you can to try to get to the core, and maybe it's nothing. But wouldn't it be bad if you thought there was something and you didn't do it? So just trying to notice individuals' changes of behavior or, that's hard, sure. But we've got to get to a place where we're not uncomfortable asking these kinds of questions.
So during my inspiration, I shared the story of a teacher who intervened and prevented an ass kicking. And so I could really relate to Steve because I identified in third grade that I didn't fit. Became kind of a recluse, retired the upright of the playground, avoided the rest of the gang because I didn't fit in. So I also came through all of third grade to graduation feeling that I was bullied. And that was, folks were really encouraging about get out of town, go do something. And going to college was one of the best things that I got to reinvent myself. Now those people, was a fresh start for me, new group. None of them had that background that they played on. So that was really a restart for me and a wonderful thing. I don't know if I ever felt suicidal, but certainly, lonely, certainly didn't feel like that anywhere all the way through that experience. So I can certainly relate to your experience. I certainly feel a lot of what you felt, I think.
I'm really glad you brought up loneliness, because loneliness can be a huge trigger, especially for the elderly. We've done a lot of programs at the station with, whether it's sending, retirement centers, Valentine's cards, and trying to get names and send people notes, just to know that someone's thinking about them. Steve with Hope walking through, I mean, when he walks through the station, the entire station becomes alive. I'd love to tell you it's because of Steve. He knows better, And then if he doesn't bring Hope, my entire staff's going. So, but I mean, how cool to have a mascot you take with you, and what a cool name, I should have brought a picture of what he brought me yesterday. And a picture of Hope that we have in our conference room now. And what does it say under the picture?
Hope is hope for tomorrow needs you. Hope says tomorrow needs you. Yeah.
So.
I think
Oh, Scott, you have a question? Yes, yes is the answer.
Before we're out of time for more questions, I was talking to somebody here earlier before your program started, and she was telling me a story about a friend of hers who just lost her son to suicide. So if there are people in this room who listen to Steve's story and that lady's story, and maybe they feel the same way, they have a story that they want to share that they think might be helpful, what should they do? And also, if there's a business owner in here who says, I want my logo up on there, I want to be a part of this, what should they do?
That, well, I did not write that question. It's a great question. Contact me, know the downfalls. The downfalls are you're gonna be exposed to a different level of conversation maybe than you've ever had in your life. Because people are gonna know your story, right? If you're willing to accept that, and Lord knows Nancy and Steve felt that by, and then Steve told me about a woman that had sent him a note he had never met before. And just going on and on, she was leaving the area, but before she left, she wanted to tell Steve what he means to her. Now think about that. You don't met that person. So first, if you do want to share a story that's personal to you, beware of the consequence of fame.
Ask Christie.
The better 95% of the row clan there is Christie, but the second part of the question, if you are interested in supporting this in one way or another, just call me or email me. We'll have a conversation. We'll see if it works for you. Christy and Steve have been incredibly generous, not only financially to this program, but as you know, very fortunate to have a dear friendship with them. Now remember, in closing, tomorrow means. Thank you very much.
Well, I can't thank you enough. I will tell you, I have a, I don't know, she's stepdaughter, who one point in time met as coloring pages of both mattered with her. I want you to know that particularly sent it to her because I knew she was going through a rough go. And I do think it's those little tiny seeds that she's sent out there. And I and my husband both got the from Steve thanking us for what we've done in the community. So you forget how much those little notes matter, which as an elementary school teacher, we used to do it all the time. And I've gotten away from it. And now I'm looking back, realize that those little pieces make a difference. So thank you very much. Hey, with that, I'm going to call Cynthia, our sergeant.
I'm gonna juggle, just wait.
Oh, okay, no, that would be dangerous. Thank you. You are the most awesome youper. You guys, I don't think you're finished, but you got sisu, man. You have sisu. Good afternoon. So, this is interesting. My kids were just here for the last few days and it's always a, you know what show, and you know, Dad got 15 and a 17-year-old and they're either hungry or wanting to play Nazi croquet where they set things up, you have to climb in the trees and whatnot. Anyway, I'm looking through my email, catching up last night, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm Sergeant tomorrow. Oh, done a lot of research, and I thought, okay, what's happening today? And I thought, you know what? I was thinking about last week's program and about karaoke and connecting the dots and how we have so many things in our community that connect the dots for us. In the last week, Fritz and I have gone to free community concerts. We went up to Roseburg last Friday night and watched a concert at the River Bend Live program. And that was just so sweet and so comfortable. And Tuesday night, we went to see the final concert in the park here in Grants Pass. And looking around the room, around the crowd, there's so many places where we have so much division. And it was heartwarming to think about the connections that you could see happening. Tuesday night, it was so cute. We were right behind this family in the in front. Your mom and dad are holding hands, and little kids are running around, they're playing around, and the little girl gets behind the dad's chair, and she's pulling the zipper, and I realized she's down and she finds his stash, and she's digging out booze out of the back of the shirt. have a little brother, in the meantime, this concert ends, just completely melts down, because he doesn't want it to be over with. And it's a night where they throw all these, the beach balls around, and so a little girl from across the way comes along and hands him the beach ball because he's crying, and he takes the beach ball from her, and he starts crying, and all of a sudden they go, I'm thinking, all these connections, all these things that make us feel good about where we live and about the people around us. And talk about connect the dots. I didn't plan this to connect to this the presentation, but it does connect to the presentation because one of the things that I've learned I've been in one of the addiction recovery programs now for 3 years. Because I've had so much, there's been a lot of alcoholism in my life, and I realize it has affected me. And to be aware of that, and what we learned is that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. It's about connection. It's about community and having people that care about you and that love you for who you are. One of my favorite sayings is, allow people the dignity of being who they are. Sometimes we expect our kids, our grandkids, the people that we live with and love the most. We expect them to be something, and we don't intend for consequences, but sometimes it doesn't work. It doesn't feel good. And so I'm just sort of feeling very in touch with connections, and now we're gonna play a little bit of game. It's decided, now let's get really morose here. Another connection that we are doing, and Kelly talked about it, is working with the homeless, working with people who are struggling. And I have a game to play with you. Last night, one of my friends decided that he was going to go over and see what people needed over at the homeless shelter. He said, so what do you think? What do you guys need as far as groceries? And I started to number the list. And a gentleman with him came up with a list, and I'm gonna see how many of you know. Guess what the number one thing they wanted on the grocery list to go to the grocery outlet? Number one. Socks. Socks, okay. Anybody else have an idea? Why? They need water. The water in the tank in the homeless shelter tastes horrible. They won't drink that. So, you don't eating anything, water's a good one. Number 2 on the list. And there's a hint. Who's the star of the Steve Rose show? Puppy food. They love puppy food, and because they have, that's probably the biggest source of mental health support in the homeless shelters of the people. Their animals are works to that. Anyway, so as we're getting to food going, that's that connection that we are making in the community that we do, and we should be feeling good about that. So where is this gonna go, Sergeant at Arms? How do you make some money on this? I would like you all to think about who are some of the connections that either you've made this summer or that you're going to make this summer. People in your life that are important to you. Steve talked about the school reunion. That's a meaningful thing. Actually, I'm gonna be back at the same time for the school reunion. I'll be on the flatbed truck going to New Moon afterwards to celebrate. We're a little lower class, I mean, going the rest of the world, but we have a good time. So, do you have a few connections that you're planning on making, and you have some money you'd like to share? Well, I would draw $5 to start with, because I'm going to follow up with my stepdaughter who lives in Southern California. I've been trying to meet down and spend some time with her, so that is a priority that I'm making now that I can walk and run and do all those things I've gone through PT.
I don't know, connections. We just had an interesting connection recently. Pat Baby was, asked us to board, a couple at our house. They, on the front page of the newspaper recently, I don't know if everybody's, saw it, but there's a RCC run where a guy was running around and, gathering money for, kids at community colleges that didn't have money. Anyway, Pat needed another bedroom. And Rob Noss or Nosse, he's up in Salem. He and his husband came and stayed at our house. And they talked, housing with Doug. Doug got his connection with Pam Marsh. Doug will be making a connection with Pam Marsh. And, Chris, our son, was, they connected all on politics and all of that stuff. So just out of the blue, these people we got to meet and we talked for a long time. They were really tired, but we just had so much to talk to. So anyway, just out of the blue connections, just say yes to things and get to meet wonderful people. Thank you guys.
Awesome. Okay, so. Happy birthday.
A connection. How about taking a few minutes, 4 weeks from today, and introducing yourself to the group here, both in writing and in a brief interview that I'll conduct. Okay?
Any connections in Mexico? Senior John? So tell us about Mexico connections. You and your little bride have more fun down south. Tell us about connections down there.
Well, the reason we went wasn't just to have a vacation. Joni's daughter, and many of you know her business. Sherry's Berries, or Buried in Chocolate, that's her daughter. And she goes down to Puerto Vallarta 2-3 times a year to help a school that, a big mansion school up on top of the hill that takes care of handicapped children. And this one is even more touching to me. She goes to the dump. Where people are scavenging for whatever. The homes that some of these people have are the wooden pallets, the brake pallets stood up on end. That's the wall of the home with a sheet of plastic on the outside and broken up corrugated tin on the top. And she collects money and builds houses out of one house, from the corner to the window to the screen. That's big, smaller than that, for these people on concrete blocks, and then gets them. And she raises money for that. And that's one of the reasons we went down there.
I was just looking at the time. We just got back from vacation, had a wonderful time with 2 of our 3 adult children and grandchildren. So we're in Carlsbad, California. And the kids were gonna go do something, and we were on our way to do something. So we parked below the resort. The underneath garage, there's these big cement pillars, right? So I'm parked next to a pillar and I'm gonna drive, and Brett's a passenger. So I start to back out and took out the left mirror on the car. And I'm like, I just hear this crunch, scrape, and I'm like, no one was behind me. I mean, I checked my mirrors and everything. So Greg says, pull forward, and I did. We got out to check the damage. And coming off the elevator are my grandchildren, my daughter and son-in-law. At first they're looking, they're going, oh, somebody just hit their car, and then they're all yelling, Grandma! And so I'm like this, I'm going, this is just terrible. And so Jordan, she's now 17 years old, she comes running up, she said, Grandma, I just want you to know, I recently just backed into somebody, and she was sharing the story to help me feel better, and my daughter's looking at her like, you did what? Oh, the next one last, and then I'm gonna.
One of the things I wanted to share about this last weekend, because I was there, I was online. Yeah, was that the grants, I'm so happy, please tell Doug that we got the Shade for Veterans. So that grant is going forward, and Jody's not here, but the Shoes That Fit, we're gonna do that again. And those are such good ways. I was into Mexico and Guatemala and a lot of those places to help people down there. And so I'm really excited about the one in Shayla or Kitzel Panango. It's really great. And anyway, so I'm really, it's very important to use the whole name, but Shayla is what the name is called.
All right.
So, and I think that the high school there will be fabulous, and thank you. And
Yeah, it's very heartwarming. Yes, cards. Well, let's have, I guess, the cards here. Let's.
I'm going to receive, I'm going to give $20 for our presenters. Bob is Sally Girl, are an inspiration to every couple in Jackson County that Teresa's Facebook page, as our Stephen Christie and Hope. Who can't be without Hope? All right. Bob, you are our. Okay. All right, who have the?
Is it 7 of diamonds? 7 of diamonds. It is now, so full of building, look at the pile that she has, it's all back, I get it, so that's all right. Okay, and with that, I'm going to give the thought today, which is. Hope sees the invisible, feels the intangible, and achieves the impossible by Helen Keller. Have a good day. And I'm gonna call the board up, there you go, right here, it's all right, it's got the table set first, we're gonna meet up here really quick, just do a quick, and Brad here, have a great week.